Hey, hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Let's take a look at the markets at what happened. It was basically a very tight day without a lot of action, so there weren't a lot of movements, couple of failures, couple of breakouts, stocks, going up and then pulling back in. So it was a pretty choppy day overall. The markets did try initially to push higher, but then they kind of failed back. It's not necessarily, a large signal that this is the end of the move or we're going to begin some kind of a downtrend until more of these levels start to get challenged, more of the lower levels. So we're looking. I'm going to go through the Nasdaq and the rest of the markets that I kind of have here on this side. Most of my my stuff that I kind of watch on a daily basis, I want to show them to you. Look, the RSI here in the Nasdaq continues to look pretty good, and you have a 20-day that's rising and they're continuing to buy it as it's going there. So my only fear is, as I talked yesterday on the video when I talked about the wave counts, is the fact that this could be a fifth wave. So we got to tread lightly in here, and I would not get too aggressive, especially as it's trying to break, because it could have a tendency of pulling back and shake people out, right? So it creates a false break, then it pulls back and then starts to shake a little bit, move lower, and then resumes higher. But there is a bunch of defense on the downside, and however you look at it, you're a bit extended, I guess, above the 50-day moving average, which again, it's another a little bit of a froth sign, I would say. But you have the 20-day in here. So for right now, I would just kind of be cautious, maybe tighten stops, but not do a whole lot of selling necessarily, or get too concerned with that. The S&P, and I wanted to show you something interesting here in the S&P. So today it was a day where basically the S&P was flat. And look what happened in terms of the declines. So, in terms of breadth, we look at advances versus declines on a daily basis, and you can see today you had almost 2.5 as many declines as advances on a day that was flat. So underneath the surface, there is some shaking happening already, and just kind of slightly concerning. I'm going to get to Bitcoin too a little bit later here, but let's continue to go with my charts here. So the S&P, just a nice stalling day. I mean, if I go on a 4-hour time frame, you can see how they tried to push it and then quickly fell down. On this time frame, if you say that you might have already like a 5-wave structured in here, maybe there'll be an ABC coming. But what I would do is I would look for a 61.8 fib from this low to this high in the S&P and use that as my guide. And I think that would probably fall, without me pulling the fib, it would probably fall somewhere in this area where you basically will have support. So if anything like that happens, look for that to be bid, at least initially, and then if it falls back, maybe something like that. So that's on the S&P. RTY, which is the Russell, so that got rejected pretty severely off the 200-day moving average, and it's something I was watching yesterday as he was approaching it, and again, it's not broken. You can't really call this a double top on a daily. It's like way too close to each other. It's not no major divergences in here, so I would continue to remain somewhat just stay with. I would stay with the trend. I mean, you still have this this kind of trend line that's kind of supporting prices in there. It probably it could be chopped like that and then go back up. So it doesn't necessarily mean a sell signal just because of today's action. But the fact that this 200-day is so strong, that's definitely something to notice. And for those that love to trade with the averages, and there's plenty of automatic systems that do that. When you reach the 200, usually that's a selling point with some confirmation, and then if you break and close above them, and then you just get out of the trade. So in terms of risk reward, it's not a bad idea, but remember, you're fighting a little bit of a of an uptrend in here, and anytime it can turn up on you. So just be careful with those stop losses and getting out of there in case things don't work out. So that's RTY, YM, and this is the Dow. So it broke above the 200-day yesterday. Now this is going to become support. It's my thinking. So we will watch and maybe even bid this market up on retracement back into this level. Knowing that you have several levels of support coming in over there, so that could look as a potential opportunity for the Dow. Another measure of looking at breadth is via RSP, and this one, it's a little bit weaker. It's not as high up as it is the S&P 500. It's just kind of holding up there, but it's above the moving averages. You can run both these charts kind of simultaneously and just see the divergence in there, but you could say there's not a lot of participation. Maybe, I mean, look, for comparison, this is what that's doing and this is what the RSP is doing, right? It's not able to continue to go. So maybe we do have a 1, 2, 3. I mean, we already made a new high, so there's got to be some kind of something else going on in here. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I maybe below this low back here, things would start to signal a bit more downside. But just kind of something I'm keeping in mind when I'm looking at the same for actually QQ EW, which is the equal weighted Nasdaq here. That is looking fine. Semiconductors, big nice break continued right after yesterday's candle, continues to look pretty strong, and again maybe a bit extended, so not much to do here. I would definitely not get aggressive on semiconductors now, but kind of watch them closely. Bitcoin here, since we're coming to it, it starts to look very good, even more advanced today. On the 4-hour here, you can see how it actually broke the trend line. So now this is a signal. This is a signal for the upside, and what I would use as as a failure, what I would go back on a daily, and you could use yesterday's, you could use today's low as the first a layer of defense, and then the prior day low as the secondary one. And if you lose that, I would definitely think about getting out of there. But look, you're holding the 50-day. This looks like a nice ABC. It's kind of what you want to see from a reversal. So that looks good to initiate positions, and then add on a break above those levels, a sustained break there, maybe on a daily basis, and then see if it can actually continue to break much higher. So Bitcoin here looks good. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing after a nice ABC. It did correct below that 100 to about 98. So that's that's positive. Again, just looking maybe back at a 4-hour, you have your your wave, a little bit of a wave 1 off the low, a wave 2. I don't think that's a 3, 4, and a 5. We'll see what happens in here. I mean, it's hard to say. Maybe it's picking up steam, but I mean, look, even here you have a nice support that's kind of up into this area, up into the zone. So that could be an opportunity to kind of look for a buy for further upside there on Bitcoin. Let me go back to daily. Ethereum, I've done a video on Ethereum, and it's kind of my projected road to 10,000, so check that out. But it does look like, and I've counted that in that video, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and 5 was one of the alternates, and now it pulled back, and this is the entire wave 2 or part of it, but I think there's an impulse of the lows, and you would want to go higher. If you clear these averages in here, I think things are going to be start to look better. For right now, Ethereum, it's a wait. there's nothing for me to do in here with it. 10-year breaking lower, right? That's just, as long as it's not aggressive, lower rates are good for risk. The dollar continues to crack. I mean, it's had already a big move. Let me see how it looks on the weeklies. But it's still in a downtrend. There's not much to do in here. So I don't know. I mean, the dollar is basically supportive of risk at the moment. And then gold. With gold, I think there's some caution that needs to be here because it tried to move right there and it failed, and it created a bearish engulfing on the daily, and then it pulled back into its 50-day moving average. So there could be some kind of a triangle forming in here, something like an ABC, another move back here. So you could be getting choppy and then go again. But I don't think it's going to have the strength that it's had before. So if anything, I would maybe look to the short side a little bit, without violating that high. Gold. And then silver, this looks a bit better because you have your wave 1 and a wave 2, then you have your 1, 2, 3, maybe a 4 and a 5. So I think there's still some potential in silver. I don't know how that would relate to gold. Doesn't have to be the same, but it looks like you have some incomplete structure in silver. Oil, it's just kind of crashed. There's nothing to do here. I mean, I don't like this market. And then obviously, the VIX, it's a 19 and dropping, being rejected in here. So it looks like, I think VIX is going to continue to melt. You have some kind of a move like that, and it's probably going to do that. So I'm not going to go to the rest of the stocks, Nvidia, Google. I mean, Nvidia just made a new high. Let's see what it is on the weekly. Yeah, it made a new all-time high, 154. So, I would consider that pretty bullish. Extended. So there is not a lot to do in here. It's a couple of gaps, but that's what supported basically the semiconductors. And then look at Apple. Apple is still struggling. Poor guy. What is it even doing? It does look like you have a support right there, and then it does look like you would probably. Anyway, it's too much speculation with this chart, the way this kind of looks. And it could be a W, some kind of a triangle, an X, a wave Y, and then down again. It's hard to read this until the moving averages start to turn, unless it gets back above the 200. So it's pretty much like a broken chart, Apple, the way it looks. So, and then Tesla, towards the end in here, it's just not a healthy looking stock either. All the moving averages are flat. There's no direction. It's quite a bit of chop. So, I guess, I don't know. I have a tendency to think short in Tesla for some reason. And I'll probably just kind of continue to try to manipulate that as much as I can without losing money. Looking at this as being a three-wave setback, this being some kind. I don't know. It's just. Let me tell you, I'm just not bullish the way this looks. So, be that as it may, I don't have to be. Even if I miss it on the upside, it's fine. But I just don't like the structure. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll leave it at that. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.